Welcome to Ruby on Rails webinar series from JPassion.com. Today's topic is authentication using Devise. So let's move on with the presentation. So these are the set of topics that we are going to cover. So we have about 10 minutes presentation, and we're going to actually do hands-on lab exercises for each of these topics. So let's talk about what Devise is first. So Devise is a popular authentication solution for Rails application, and it is a complete MVC solution-based authentication. So you can actually have authentication on all MVC the components. And we're going to see how we can do model-based authentication as well as controller-based authentication. And it allows you to have multiple roles. For example, you can have user role, or you can have admin role. So those are actually models. These models are in fact the representing users and admins. And it's based on modularity concept. This is pretty powerful concept. So they have, in fact, the 12 modules, and we're going to actually look into each of these modules. So modules are representing functionality of Devise as authentication gem. So let's take a look at these Devise modules. Database authenticatable. So each of these modules will be represented in your model class. Later on, we'll see an example of that. So database authenticatable module. If you enable this particular module, it lets you encrypt and store password in the database. And this authentication can be done through POST request or HTTP basic authentication. A token authenticatable module lets you sign based on authentication token, and sometimes it's called a single access token. And again, this token can be given through query string or HTTP basic authentication. Omni auth is basically lets you authenticate through various other authentication providers such as Twitter, Facebook, Google, and things like that. We are going to actually cover OmniAuth later on in second the authentication presentation. So we are not going to cover OmniAuth today. Conformable, it lets you send an email for confirmation. So this is typically done in various authentications in your daily life. I'm sure you have seen examples of this. Recoverable module lets you reset, let the user reset the password and also send the reset instruction. Registerable basically is a module that lets you let a user to sign up, for the account and let them to edit or destroy their account as well. Rememberable manages generating and clearing a token for remembering the user from the saved cookie. Okay? So this is, again, is typically what you see in your typical web application. Tractable, track sign-in account, count and timestamps and IP address. So it maintains that information. Timeable, timeout-able module that the sessions to expire when there is no activity in a specific period of time. Okay? Validatable provides validation on email and password. This validatable, is optional. So you can actually disable this validatable. Then you can actually provide your own custom validation logic. Lockable means if a user tried to log in multiple times and failed, then the account will be locked in. Okay, and it can unlock via email or after specified time period. All right, so those are set of modules. Okay, so let's move on to getting started with Devise. So getting started with Devise is pretty simple. You take a few simple steps. First, you're going to install Devise gem to your application. So you're going to change your gem file and add Devise gem, and then you're going to bundle and install or bundle. And then you're going to generate Devise configuration files. So you're going to say Rails generate and Devise install. And then we're going to add models, user model or admin model. So here, if you say Rails generate and Devise user, then it will generate a user model with a set of modules pre-configured. All right, so let's do our first exercise. Our first exercise is getting started. So we are going to start our application, brand new application. So I have already done that. So you say Rails new device app, and so new application get started. And here we're going to actually scaffold on students. So, let's try to scaffold the students. So we have some basic model. So student has name and age. And then we are going to create students table through migration. So we're going to say rake db migrate. Rake db. Okay. So students table should be created. And then we are going to modify sys.db file so that we can have some test data. Okay, so we are going to create 3 students records. Okay, so we are going to sys. Okay, and I'm going to just copy these 3 lines of code. Okay, and we save the change. I'm going to just remove this. Okay. All right. And then we are going to create the sys data by saying rake db seed. Rake db seed. So those sys.db file gets executed. So we now have 3 student records. Okay. And we're going to modify browse.db file so that we have root the URL going to students controller and it goes to index. Okay, so routes.db file. So we are going to go here, root. Right here. And we're going to say students. Oops. Okay. All right. Save the change. And we're going to also remove index.html file. Oops. So we go to public and we go to index file and we're going to delete it. Okay. All right. Now, now we're going to actually add device gem to the application. So we're going to actually modify gem file. So here we are going to add gem device. So we're adding device gem, and then we're going to perform bundle install. Bundle. You can just say bundle. All right. So it's installed. Okay. So we just did that. And then we are going to generate device configuration file. So when you run this one, it will create two files. One is called the device RB file on the initializers. So that basically contains configuration information of device. And then it also generates a message file, a YAML file on the locale. So this is English version of the older messages that are relevant to running device-based authentication. So let's run let's generate device install. So here, Rails generate device install. And then it will actually let you know, a few files you want to change. Okay. All right. So we're going to actually make some of those changes. So you can just take a look at the device RB file. So if you take a look at the device RB file that has been created, it's actually created under config initializers directory, meaning this configuration file is used just once. Okay, so whenever you make a change in this configuration file, you have to restart the server. Okay, in our case, we have not started the server yet, so that's irrelevant. Okay, so you can see this contains all the configuration. Okay, so for example, later on we're going to actually change some of the this configuration. For example, password length is set between 8 to 128 characters. So meaning if your password that you have entered is less than 8, that's invalid password. Okay. All right, and you can also take a look at the device en YAML file. So that is on the locale. So it is on the config and the locales, and this is all the messages. Okay, so these are all the messages in English. All right. Now we are going to configure device. So we are going to, for example, so you are going to set the default URL option for mailer. We are not going to actually do some mailer here in this exercise, so it's probably not needed. But this is a suggestion you want to actually, to follow. So we're going to actually change the device RB file. Development RB file on the environment. Okay. So here we are going to set the default URL option for mailers. So we're going to add. And we save the change. And then we are going to see the notification on sign up and sign out and sign in by displaying the notice and alert. So we're going to actually change the application.html ELB layout file. So every time those actions happened, we are going to see some message. Okay, so we are going to go app and views and layout, and this is the root layout that we want to change. So here we are going to just copy these 2 lines of code. Okay. So basically we are going to just see the notification. And now we are going to generate a user model. Okay. So here you can actually generate like admin or user, but typically you're going to actually generate a user. So it will in fact generate a user model with a migration file, and then it also set the users in routing. Okay, so we'll see those things. So we are going to make sure that we save all the changes, and then we are going to generate the device user. Rails generate device user. And let's take a look at the user model class once user model has been generated. So in this user model, you are going to in fact see all the modules. Okay, so let's open user. So here, as you can see, these are the modules that are enabled. Okay, and these are the modules that have been disabled. Okay, so we are using database for maintaining password, registerable, recoverable, rememberable, tractable, and validatable. Okay, and as a default, it's going to use email as authentication key. So you see email and password confirmation fields in this, and also remember me column. So these are all the columns. Okay. All right, so that is the user RB file. So we just take a look at that. And now if you take a look at the migration file, you can see the migration file is for generating users table. So let's take a look at the migration file. So we are going to go db migrate, and this is a migration file. So as you can see, it's creating users table, and for each module, it will in fact create the email and the encrypt password. So you can see this migration file has the method for each of those modules that are relevant. Okay, so later on, if you want to actually enable conformable, then you can just uncomment this, and then you can actually restart your migration from the beginning, and then this conformable, the table column will be created. All right, so that is migration file. So we are going to perform this migration, meaning we are going to create a users table with these columns. Okay. All right. So let's do that. So rake, and db migrate. So it will create the users table. Now, one more thing that we want to take a look at is the routing table. So if you take a look at the routes.rb file, so this routes file gets this routes file is actually for the providing routes for these users. So we're going to actually see how that is going to be used in a few minutes. Okay. Routes.rb file. So as you can see, this is now created. Device for users. So this is actually in fact added. When we actually perform this command. Okay, so here the routes has been added, and this is what has been added. Okay. And we're going to actually take a look at the in fact the rake routes, what has been created. Okay, so if you take a look at the route that has been created by that one line in your routes.rb file, these are the routes. Okay, so you can see now you can use like a user sign in, users sign in post, and so this is actually for creating brand new one, and this is the posting. This is the create, and this is destroy, sign out. And then you can also actually use, so these are the URLs you can use for performing some authentication. Okay, so we're gonna actually try that in the next exercise. All right, now we're gonna actually run the application. So I'm gonna actually use this one. So we are going to run the application Rails server. Okay. Right, so Rails is being started, and then we're gonna actually go to this URL. So this is in fact a sign up. Okay. So now we can actually sign things up. So here I can say I'm going to use any my mail here, and password is if you actually have a smaller password than the less than 8, you're going to actually have some error message like this. Okay. So you have to actually have at least 8 characters for password, because that is the configuration that was set up. So I'm going to say, oh, I forgot what did I say. Okay. And sign up. Now you can see, welcome, you have signed up successfully. So this is actually from notification message. Okay. All right. Now that is what we just have done. Okay. Now if you try to users sign out, so I'm going to actually use the one host users. So this is sign up, and we are going to use users sign out. So you are going to see no routes for this is available. Okay, so you might in fact ask, why that is the case. The reason is sign out message. Sign out has to be HTTP delete. Okay. However, here when you're actually doing this, you're actually sending HTTP get with this URL. Okay. So there is no routing for HTTP get and users sign out combination. That is the reason you got the routing error. Okay. So what we want to do is, instead of using this URL directly on the browser, we are going to actually add some code. Okay. So we are going to actually add this code. So this code is basically you are going to check whether user has been signed or not. Okay, if user has been signed, then we are going to provide the email address information. So by the way, so these are the things that we are going to actually learn in a few minutes in the slide. So user sign in question mark, that is a helper that you can use right away. It's basically, will return true or false, depending on whether user has been signed or not. And if user has been signed, then we are going to display the email of that current user. So this current user is another the helper that you can use to access the currently signed user. Okay, and you want to display email, and then you can display a link. So here, if it is not you, we want the user to sign out. So we're going to actually have a link to sign out, and then we are going to use destroy user session path. Okay, and here we are going to use the delete. That is this destroy user session here, and we are using delete method. So this link will provide the URL for signing out. Now, if user is not signed, then we are going to go to this logic here. So here we are going to ask a user to sign up. So here we are going to use a new user registration, new user registration, and that is going to actually call the sign up method of users controller. Okay, all right, and so here user registration or so here we can ask the user to sign up if the user has not been registered, or user can sign in if the user has been signed in before. So okay, so we are going to change our layout file with this. Okay, so let's go to layout file, application. So this must be the one, and we are going to copy this code over here. Okay, all right, and we save the change. Oops. Save the change, and then we are going to go here, and then we are going to refresh the page. Now we are going to see this message. So this user is currently signed in as a sangshinpassion@gmail.com. So we can sign out. So we can sign out, and user has been signed out successfully. Okay, and then you can sign up again as a new user, or we can sign in. Okay, so here we can specify the user and valid password. We can have a remember me if you want to, and then we can sign in, and then the user has been signed in successfully. Again, if I want to sign out, then I can sign out. Okay, and once it's signed out, then I have two links: sign up or sign in. Okay, so that is pretty straightforward. So we exercise those things right now. Okay, we just try to sign out, right? Okay, now forgot password. So if you want to click forgot password, then you specify the email address, and if you click this one, then it will send you the email, the password information, so that you can reset. So this is because we have configured in the users table. So if you take a look at the users table, so here basically the recoverable. So this is the module we have enabled, and that's the reason we actually see forgot your password option. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. All right, so far what we have done is just kind of, the getting started with the device. And, basically you just add a device gem in your gem file. And then you're going to generate device configuration file. And then you're going to generate the user model, okay? Now, what we want to do at this point is that, we want to provide some authentication filter for some controller method, okay? So Devise provides a very simple a filter called the authentication user bang, and all you have to do is just use this filter in your controller. And there are also some helpers you can use. We have already seen these helpers. User signed in question mark, so it will tell you whether user has been signed in or not. Current user, if user has been signed in, you can actually access the user through this current user method. And the user session is used to access the session. All right, so let's do exercise 2. So what we want to do is, for now, let's try to create a new user. Okay. You're going to say, so I can actually create new user like this. It let me create a new user right away. So, but what I want to do is I want to have only the valid user to be able to create a new student. Okay. So, at this point, anybody can actually create a student, but that's not what I want. What I want is only the valid user to create a new student or destroy new student, destroy existing student, things like that. So that's basically where you want to be able to add, where you want to actually add this filter so that the methods can be in fact the redirect for the authentication. Okay, so here you can actually create a student without any restriction whatsoever. So what we want to do is that, for these methods, new method or edit method and create method and update and destroy method, I want only the valid user to be able to perform this method of this controller. Okay, so we are going to actually go to the student controller, student controller, and we want, add this before filter. Okay. All right, so we save the change. Now let's try to, let's refresh the page. Okay. Now we are going to, let's try to go to the index of students method. Now, if I try to create a new student, then it asks me to sign in first. Okay. So you need to sign up or you need to sign in or sign up before continuing. So I'm going to just use my old account, and I have to provide a valid password and sign in, and then I can create a new student. Okay, so this is a way that you can control the authentication on a set of controller method. Okay, all right, so that's what we have done. Exercise 2. And if you can actually see the information on the sign user, so for the sake of some debugging, we're going to actually add the debug statement in current user. Okay, so we're going to actually display only when the user signed in. Okay, so I'm going to add this line to application, the layout file. So here, right after build, I'm going to just add. Okay. All right, so when the user signed in, I want to see more detailed information on that user. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so if I refresh the page, then I in fact should see the current user. So the current user ID is 1, and email is used as authentication key is sangshinpassion@gmail.com, and this is encrypted password. And it also have a lot of other information. So signed in count, how many times it actually signed in so far, and I have signed in 3 times, and current sign in, and at last sign in, a bunch of information. Okay. All right, so that's what we have just done. So I'm going to just remove this guy because we don't want to see that. Okay, so that is the controller authentication. So let's move on to customization. So we're going to actually customize in few aspects. First of all, customize views. We have seen the UI, and the UI is not, the most, this is such a basic UI that is actually provided by Devise. Okay. Now, obviously, you do not want to this basic UI. You can certainly change this UI, and that's basically where you can customize. So we're going to actually take a look at that. So here, when you say Rails generate device views, it will in fact generate all the views, default views, and then you can change those views for customization. customization of the routing. For now, we are going to use like a slash users and slash something, right? And if you want to actually change the routing, you can certainly use path names and bunch of other routing, the options, as we have learned in the routing, topic a couple of months ago. So here we are basically changing. Instead of using sign in, we wanted to use log in. Okay. Also, you can certainly customize the messages that are being displayed. Okay, so and changing default values. Again, if you want to change default values set in the device ID config file, then you can change it. So what you're going to do in the exercise is we're going to change the password length from 8 to 128 to maybe 4 to 8 or something like that. Okay, so let's do exercise 3. So here we are going to generate all the views. So these are the views that are in fact being used at the moment. Okay. So what we are going to do is generate these views, and then we are going to, change these views. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to just copy this, and I'm going to go here, and let me just copy this one. All right, so we generate views. So these are the views, in fact, we are going to actually see a bunch of views. So the views that we have seen are basically registration. These are the views we have seen. Okay. So we are going to change new html.erb file on the registration. So when a brand new user is registering, signing up, then we want to see a different the view. For the sake of the simplicity, we're going to just change very simple message. Instead of sign up, you're going to say customize sign up. Okay. So let's change registration. So this is views, and here registration, and we're going to change this new. So we're going to just change the this one as a customize. So sign up, and here at the end, so for now, the links are actually kind of very tight. So we're going to actually have another we're going to have in the sign up. So things are very tied up, kind of very crowded. So we're going to have another blank line. Okay. So here we are going to, before the link, we are going to say BL like this. Okay, and save the change. Okay. And now when we are trying to refresh, when we refresh the page, you can see is displaying new customized view file. And then we have a blank line here. Okay. So, you can actually change in these view files in any way you want. Okay. All right. So that's what we have done. And now we want to actually change the routing. So again, if you take a look at the routes, these are the routes that we have used, like a slash user sign in, slash user sign in, sign out, and things like that. So here what we're going to do is we are going to actually change, instead of using sign in, we are going to use log in. And instead of using sign out, we are going to use log out. Instead of using password, we're going to use a secret and things like that. Okay. So we're going to actually change the routes file. Sorry. Okay. Here, routes are the file, and we are basically just adding this. Okay, and save the change. Now we are going to display the routes, and it should actually reflect the changes we made. Okay, so let's go over here and take a look at the routes. Big routes. So instead, these are the old routes. I'm sorry. These are the old routes. So user sign in, user sign in. Instead, you're going to see login. Okay. So all right. So that is that. So you can see instead of sign in, now we are going to use log in and log out. Okay. Instead of password, you're going to use the secret. Okay. So that is basically what we just have seen in the documentation. Now, when you try to, the sign up, refresh the sign up, you're going to see, in fact, register, come on, let me in. Okay. So that is basically, let me just move this one a bit here. Yeah, so that is this one, new user registration. Come on, let me in. Okay. All right, so let's try that. So we're going to actually refresh. And yeah, so, when we refresh, it's actually using sign up. Okay, that's the reason we don't have that route anymore. Okay, so we are going to just go to the refresh and now sign up. Now you are going to see the come on, let me in. Okay, so that is the new route that is being used. Okay. Now, customization of the messages. So here we are going to go to Devise YAML file. Okay, so it's on the configs. So it's on the config and Devise YAML file. So, we're going to again change a very simple, we're going to actually make a very simple change. So instead of just sign in successfully and sign out successfully, we are going to say user. User is signed in successfully and user is signed out successfully. Okay, so very simple change. So again, if you actually try those things, and let's try to sign in and password. And as you can see, the message has been changed. User is signed in successfully. Okay, all right. So that's changing a messaging file. Okay, so we just did that. And customization of the default values. So here we're going to actually make a very simple change. So password length for validation is set to 8 to 128 inclusive. So we're going to actually change this one to 428. Okay, so this is a Devise RB file. Okay, so here we are going to change to 428. So for now, if I try to sign up, if I try to sign up with less than 8 characters, so let's try to sign up, and the new email address sample, and if I try to sign up with 4 characters, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, it will have error condition. Password is too short. Minimum is 8 characters. Okay, so we're going to change this one to 428. Okay, and save the change. Now, if you try to run this one without restarting the server, you're going to actually have the same problem because this configuration file is read only once. Okay, so you have to restart the server. Okay? So I'm going to restart the server and start it again. And this time, let's refresh the page, and let's try to use the 4 characters. Let's sign out first, and then sign up, and here, and we are going to use just 4 characters. And I should be able to sign up because now the password length validation is using new validation value between 4 to 8 characters. Okay. All right. So that is the validation of that is the changing configuration file. Okay. So that's what we had just have done it. All right. Let's move on to the last topic. So far, what we have done was that as a default, the device is using the email as authentication key. Okay. Instead of using email, we want to use a username. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Okay. All right, so let's do exercise 4. So if you take a look at the Devise RB configuration file, it's actually using, it's actually kind of comment out. So let's take a look at the, this is the Devise RB file. If you take a look at the line 26, it's comment out. As a default, it's using email. Okay, so we have to, the uncomment this line. Now we're going to change this one to username. Okay, so instead of using the email as authentication key, we want to use a username. Okay. All right. Then what we have to do is we are going to change the migration file. So if you take a look at the migration file that has been created, okay, so let's take a look at the migration file. DB. So these are the migration file, okay? So, as you can see, the database authentication is using email column, okay? Instead, we want to use a username column, okay? So what you want to do is, you can certainly create another migration file that actually, add or changing this column to email column to username, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to actually change this migration file, and then we're going to actually roll back this migration file so that it's actually kind of the undone, and then we're going to actually use a new migration file. So that's what we're going to do. So if you take a look at the migration status at this point, we actually have a 2 migration files used. Okay, let's try that. Wake db migrate. It basically shows you all the migration that has been done up to that point. Okay, so this is something we have learned before. So far we have actually 2 migration. One is creating students file through the scaffolding, and then the Devise create users when we create the user model. Okay, so we are going to actually roll back. So when you say db rollback, we are going to roll back this. Okay, so we are going to say rake db roll. It will roll back just the previous the migration. And then if you take a look at the status of it, then it should say down. So let's try that. Okay, and then let's take a look at the status. So users table has been the dropped. Okay, so we can create a new users table. So you should see this is now down. Okay, so now we're gonna actually change this migration file. Okay, so instead of actually using email, we are going to actually use the another migration to add the username, but we have to actually set this username to be null equals true. Okay, because now whenever you're actually adding a new user, this email field is going to be just null, and then we want the null to be allowed. Okay, and then we don't want to create the index for the user email field. Okay, so that's something that we want to change. So here, instead of null false, we are going to say it's allowed. Null is allowed for email. Oops, allowed. Okay, and then for creating an index, we are going to comment this out. Okay, all right. So we save the change, and then we're going to perform migration. So we created the users table with the new attribute of the email, and also we are not creating index anymore. Okay, so let's do wake db migrate. Okay, and if you take a look at the status, and then we should have new users table should have been created with a new new values. All right, so that's done. Now we are going to create the user name column to the users table. So we have to actually perform migration. So we're going to say Rails G migration add username to users, and then the username has just the string. The column is actually a string type. Okay, so it's Rails G migration and add user name to users, and the username column is string type. Okay, and then we're going to perform migration so that the column is added. Okay, so here we're going to say rake db migrate. Okay. Now we are going to change the user model. Okay, so that here we have to actually, if you don't add this username field to attribute accessible, later on you're going to actually experience mass assignment error condition. So, and also you have to actually add this method, email required, so that is actually false. So this is going to be in fact called by the device to check whether email is required or not. Okay, so we're going to change the model class, user model class. So here we are going to add the username column. We just added, and then we are going to add email required method here, and that should return false. Okay, because now email is not required anymore because we are not using email as authentication key. Instead, we are using username as authentication key. All right, now we're going to actually change views. Okay, because instead of actually asking a user to enter email, we have to ask the user to enter username. Okay, so again, we're going to actually change the new html.elb file for registration. New HTML ELB registration. This one. Okay, so here instead of email, we have to use the username. And instead of email field, we're going to use the text field. So I'm going to just copy these two lines and just replace this. Okay. And also edit. Whenever we allow a user to edit their account information, we also ask them to change the username. So we are going to change edit HTML ELB file. Edit HTML ELB file. So that is this guy. So here again, we are going to change. We're going to copy these two lines and replace this line so that we are using username field instead of email. Okay, and then this is the sessions. Okay, so the sign in the message page. So that is a sessions new HTML ELB file. So new HTML ELB, and that is sessions, this one. Okay, so again, here's the email field. So we are going to change that with username field. So here, we're going to just copy these two lines. All right, we save change. And also the the application HTML ELB file. This is a layout file. So we have the signed in as someone, right? So here, if you don't change this one, it will just display null value. Okay, so instead we want to display username, right? So we're going to actually change that the layout file, application, this one. Okay, so here instead of displaying email, we want to display username like this. Okay, save the change, and we are going to refresh the page. All right, so now if I try to sign up, now it's displaying username instead of the email. Okay, so username is pop up, and password is 1234 1234, and sign up. And then you can see you have signed up successfully, and you've been signed up as pop, meaning as a username field. Okay, all right. So that is. By the way, so whenever you have this message, mass assignment security error, that is because in user model, you have not added this. Okay. And column email is not unique. It's because you have not you have not changed the because column email is not unique is because the new migration has not been created and performed. That means migration file that we talked about here, you have not the comment this out, and also this one true instead of false. Okay, so that's pretty much what I have. So it's about 11:50. So let me make sure